In the 1960s, railroads were losing business to trucks when it came to transporting auto parts and finished vehicles. They were fighting to find ways to gain that business back, and one of the ways they did that was to come up with specialized cars. Hi everybody, I'm Joe Parker of the Pixel Depot, and today we're going to talk about mail call. Really? That's how we're going to do this now? In this video, we're going to talk about the second run of Tangent's 86-foot auto parts boxcars. This run uses the same tooling as the first run, I believe, but makes some new road names and numbers available. I thought these would be a good addition to my layout. Regular viewers, of course, know that I have a General Motors assembly plant on my main layout, the Monument City Terminal Division. But if you're new to the channel, I have a General Motors assembly plant on the layout. You get it. So as I mentioned, in the 1950s and 60s, the railroads were losing significant traffic to the trucking industry because of the limitations of standard 40-foot and 50-foot boxcars. Their solution was to come up with specialized cars to handle auto parts and finished automobiles. The 86-foot boxcar, developed in the mid to late 1960s, was part of that solution. These massive cars carry large or bulky items, often stamped metal parts like fenders and hoods and things like that are not particularly heavy. So in other words, in a standard boxcar, they would fill the car's inside space long before they ever reached their weight limit. By making larger cars, for example, the 86-foot boxcars come in at or about 10,000 cubic feet, they could get more parts into the car while getting closer to the weight limit. There were also usually specialized racks for these parts to reduce damage during shipping. But enough of the history lesson. I know you came here to see the unboxing. But before we do that, one last thing. This channel covers model railroading, including planning, hints, tips, how-tos, and updates. You can brighten my day by clicking the subscribe button, which will then let you stay up to date with new content. Clicking the bell means you'll also get notified when there is a new video available. So let's unbox some cars. Okay, so we ordered some Tangent 86-foot boxcars for the General Motors plant, and these are supposed to be a combination birthday and Christmas gift, but we'll just open these up here and see how they look. Look pretty nice. And I ordered a variety of road names. B&O and Conrail here, Illinois Central Gulf, and Erie Lackawanna. So let's get into opening these up.
Hey, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Those are not for now.
Some of them are for now.
Not all. Which one's for now?
These are for now.
Not for you. Not for you.
You're mean. All right, so I guess we're going to go on with just these two for now. I had actually gotten one or two Tangent cars from the last run, I guess the first run that they did of these particular 86-foot boxcars that were used for auto parts. But what really drew my attention this time was actually this particular car, which is decorated for Conrail, but decorated in such a way so that it looks like it's just after the merger. So this would have originally been a Pennsylvania Railroad car, been renumbered for Conrail, and would have been put back in service. So, you know, I'm sure this never happens to you guys out there, but I took one look at this particular paint scheme and said, I've got to have that. So here we are. So let's open this up. While I'm opening this up, I should mention that I do have a couple of other cars here that I'm going to use for comparison. One is an Athearn car from the old Blue Box series. So as you'd expect, you know, for a car that's that old, there's much less detail on it, but I still wanted to kind of compare those things. And then the second bit of comparison will be with the run that Walthers did a number of years ago, and I off the top of my head, I think that's going back 10 or more years. But now that I've taken this particular car out. It's still very difficult to see because of the plastic, so I apologize for that. But there we go. So as I mentioned, decorated for Conrail, but clearly was a former Pennsylvania Railroad car. I'll also take out this B&O car. Again, at first glance, these look really, really good. Tangent, the level of quality that Tangent puts into their cars is exceedingly high. But as you'd expect, that comes at a price. This one clearly has some weight moving around in it. So I'm going to take the roof off and check that out. Yeah, the weight is loose, and I think when I took this out, something fell off too. So let's take a look at that. But the weight came out there, but either way, I will need to re-glue that in and glue the roof back on. The piece that fell off was this here. These are extra wheel caps, so I can show you that the wheel caps actually spin on the end of the wheels here, and that makes for a nice piece of detail. They give you extras in case you lose any, because they are a small part and they will go away. So I removed the weight from the B&O car just for now, so that we can do an appropriate comparison. It just so happens that the Walthers car that I did is also a B&O car. I'm going to bump the light up here just a skosh. And this is put this one down here and this one up here. It's screws. Alright, so we've got some screws in the bottom of this Conrail car packaging. So I'll need to figure out what's going on there. It looks to me like all the screws are in there, so I'm not sure what those are for, but we will put them aside. And what I'm trying to do here is make enough space so that we can compare all of these cars together. Alright, so the bottom car here is the Walthers run. The Santa Fe car at the top is the very old Athearn run. The Athearn, all the details are molded on. The stirrups are pretty thick. There's no separate bars on the doors and so on. It's a good runner, but the details are appropriate for the era in which it was made. The Walthers car is a little better in terms of detail. The ladders are still molded on, but the stirrups are much more prototypical in thickness, and I don't know if these are separately applied, but yep, they are separately applied. And then we look at the Tangent cars here. So the grab irons on the side here are all individual grab irons that are applied. The detail on the end here is also applied. At the time, the B&O car, this Walthers one, you had to apply that yourself, and I actually never got around to doing that. It wasn't the easiest step to do, so I appreciate that the Tangent car has all of that stuff already in there. The undercarriage is much more detailed than either of the other cars that we look at here, top and bottom, with separately applied pieces. There's thin wire to represent the piping for the brake lines. There are uncoupling levers on both ends. Of course, on the older cars, those don't appear, and there's no piping or anything on the underside for either of those. If you look at the printing, as you'd expect with Tangent, given the attention to detail that they apply, the printing is extremely crisp and fine, readable, even though it is very, very small. With the Conrail car here, they've gone to the trouble of using slightly different paint to represent where things are painted out, and the dates, inspection dates and numbering is painted on over that, which is kind of nice. All the cars have ACI plates on them, again representative of the era that I model. Those were relevant in the 70s and 80s, and the system kind of fell out of favor, but all the cars have those. I will do my checking, of course, to make sure these cars are appropriate as to whether or not they need the wheel dot. You can see on this one, these are both 70-ton cars and therefore would require the wheel dot for my era. We'll see if the others come in there. It looks like they're going to, based on the weights that are shown here. So I will have to add that, but I'm not going to hold that against Tangent, because if you happen to model before 1978 or 77 or so, the dots are not prototypical. So leaving them off, I don't think is a major sin. The Tangent cars do come with metal wheels. The other cars, the Athearn car certainly didn't at its age, and the Walthers car I did believe came with metal wheels, but at the time still had horn hook couplers, I think. The Tangent cars come with Katie number 58 couplers, which are the scale size ones. One thing I did just notice as I was kind of moving these around is, and this is where the detail on the Tangent cars can be a little dangerous. When I kind of grab this to lift it up, something, yep, here along the side you can see is, if you catch it, that there's the danger of ripping that off. So these are cars that you're going to want to be careful with if you're using them for operations, which I will, but if you're using them for operations and there's a lot of handling that goes on your railroad, that might be something that would be a drawback. Certainly it looks very nice, but I know sometimes operators can be rough in their handling, and sometimes those details don't survive rough handling, so I probably will give that a little dab of glue. I wanted to mention one other thing here. I did put that weight back in there, so it's still clunking around a little bit, but the B&O car does not have this on there, but on the Conrail car, along some of the panels here, and this was like this when I took it out of the box, so it's not oil or anything like that from me, but you can see in these areas here there's some sort of material that I'm not quite sure what it is that shows up there. Perhaps it's something prototypical that was put on there with the painting process, but that doesn't look quite right. And it's on both sides. You can see it over here as well. So just something interesting that I noticed. So overall, I would give these a very high rating in terms of the detail. The weight being loose is a little troublesome, but that may just be a problem with shipping. Although now that I think about it, that might be where those screws are supposed to be. So you can see here, and here, that there are holes. It looks like those screws should be holding that weight down. So I wonder if those came out in shipping or if that's a manufacturing problem. Yep. This will be hard to see here, but I can definitely tell on the Conrail car that there are screws in there. So that's what happened. That's where the screws the mysterious screws that I found earlier go to. But we didn't talk about the roofs comparatively. This car has a different roof style, but the roofs on the Athearn car are similar in style. These are a little more detailed in terms of the fineness of the detail. Clearly a little bit more went into that. Another interesting thing that I just noticed is this B&O car, which was new based on the date, new at the end of 1969, does not have any notches here on the ends for roof walks, whereas this former Pennsylvania Railroad car does, which makes sense for its build date, which I will have to apply the Optivisor to read that build date, but given that it was a Pennsylvania car, it was pre-1968. Wow, that is so small, I've got to use the double magnification. So according to this, it was built in October of 1964 and inspected and all those fun things, July of 1976. So certainly pre-1969 for the roof walks, which this was meant to represent that there at one time was a roof walk on that car that has been removed because they're no longer required by the Federal Railroad Administration. The other detail that's interesting as it relates to the roof walks being taken down here are that there are nubs here for where the grab irons would have used to have been for the grab irons that are no longer required to get up onto the roof. So another nice little detail. You can see that on the B&O car that does not exist because, again, that's supposed to have been built after roof walks were no longer required, so the manufacturer would have made a change there. So another era-appropriate detail that's a nice little add-on from the guys at Tangent. From the price standpoint, I got these, technically, as you saw, I got them as a present, so I didn't pay anything for them specifically, although I did order them on behalf of my wife, who was giving me these presents. I think I paid $53.99 for them, or she paid $53.99 for them at modeltrainstuff.com. I'm not sure what the list price is. I'm going to guess it's in the $65 to $69 range. That's going to put them out of the price range of some people, and I get that. So take that into consideration. So let's take these over to the layout and see how they work out. So now we're going to deliver these 86-foot boxcars to the General Motors plants. In general, the detail on these cars is amazing, and I'm really happy with them. The one thing is, at this price point, I'm not thrilled about the loose detail part and the free-range weight. But I can't necessarily fault the weight issue on the manufacturer. That could have taken place during shipping. And let's be honest, one drawback to a very detailed car is that those details are more likely to get damaged in the packing process, in the shipping process, or just from normal handling once you have it home. Either way, these cars will provide some variety to my auto part fleet. That's all for this episode. If you have ideas for other things you want to see me review, or if you have suggestions about this video or the channel, please let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and feel free to share it with your friends. The more the merrier. For more unboxing videos, you can click up here. And for some other great content from the channel, check out these videos down here. I'm Joe Parker of the Pixel Depot. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you'll meet me next time in the train room.